Hello everyone. Today we're going to continue with chapter 22 from Billionaire Boy by David Williams. Chapter 22, a new chapter. Joe ran as fast as he could, which wasn't that fast in all honesty, but it felt fast to him. He ran down the long drive, dodged past the guards, jumped over the wall. Was the wall to keep people out or keep him in? He'd never thought about it before. But there wasn't time to think about it now. Joe had to run and keep running. Joe didn't know where he was running to. All he knew was where he was running from. He couldn't live in that stupid house with his stupid dad for one moment longer. Joe ran down the road. All he could hear was his own breath getting faster and faster. There was a faint taste of blood in his mouth. Now he wished he had trained harder in the school cross-country run. It was late now, after midnight. The lampposts pointlessly illuminated the empty little town. Reaching the town center, Joe slowed to a stop. A lone car crouched in the road. Realizing he was alone, Joe suddenly felt a shiver of fear. The reality of his great escape dawned on him. He looked at his reflection in the window of the darkened KFC. A chubby 12-year-old boy with nowhere to go looked back at him. A police car rolled past slowly and silently. Was it looking for him? Joe hid behind the big plastic bin. The smell of fat and ketchup and hot cardboard was so stomach-churning it almost made him choke. Joe covered his mouth to stifle the sound. He didn't want the policeman to discover him. The police car turned a corner and Joe ventured out into the street. Like a hamster that had escaped from its cage, he kept close to the edges and corners. Could he go to Bob's? No, thought Joe. In the exhilaration of meeting Lauren, or whatever her stupid name really was, he had badly let down his only friend. Mrs. Trapp had been a sympathetic ear, but it turned out she was after his money all along. How about Rush? Yes, thought Joe. He could go and live with the Purple Bottom newsagent. Joe could set up camp behind the fridge. Hidden safely there, Joe could read Nuts magazine all day and feast on slightly out-of-date confectionery. He couldn't imagine a more charmed life. Joe's mind was racing, and soon his legs were too. He crossed the road and turned left. Rush's shop was only a few streets away now. Somewhere above him, in the black air, he heard a distant whirl. The whirl became louder, more of a buzz, then a drone. It was a helicopter. A searchlight danced across the streets. Mr. Spud's voice came out of a loudspeaker. "Joe Spud, this is your dad speaking. Give yourself up. I repeat, give yourself up." Joe dashed into the entrance of the body shop. The searchlight had just missed him. The smell of pineapple and pomegranate body wash and dragon fruit foot scrub pleasantly tickled his way up his nostrils. Hearing the helicopter passing overhead, Joe dashed to the other side of the street and crept past Pizza Hut and then Pizza Express before seeking sanctuary in the doorway of a Domino's Pizza. Just as he stepped out to make a dash past Bella Pasta, the helicopter whooshed back overhead. Suddenly, Joe Spud was caught in the dead center of the searchlight. "Don't move! I repeat, don't move!" the voice thundered. Joe looked up into the light as his body trembled from the force of the rotor blades. "Shove off!" he shouted. "I repeat, shove off!" "Come home now, Joe," No. Joe, I said. I heard what you said, and I'm not coming home. I'm not ever coming home, shouted Joe. Standing there in the bright light, he felt like he was on stage in a particularly dramatic school play. The helicopter whirled overhead for a moment as the loudspeaker crackled in silence. Then Joe made a run for it, dashing down an alley behind Argos, through the NCP car park, and round the back of Superdrug. Soon the helicopter was nothing more than a distant buzz, no louder than the sleepless birds. Arriving at Rush, Joe knocked gently on the metal shutters. There was no answer, so he banged this time until the shutters shook with the force of his fists. Still no answer. Joe looked at his watch. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. No wonder Rush wasn't in his shop. It looked like Joe would have to be the very first billionaire to ever sleep rough.